When you flip the camera on its back, you'll see a lot of your point-and-shoot cameras will have a menu button somewhere. A lot of the newer cameras have touch screens. I just don't have an example of one here. You'll have to look for the menu button. The menu button is going to give you access to other features like color control and, most importantly, how big a picture you're supposed to be taking. On the Canon, if I go into the menu, I have a scrollable set of options. And generally they start with the quality. Most cameras will start with some sort of icon that looks like this. And to change that, you go in and you either hit set or you scroll to the left or right, however you need to get in there. And you want to start with the largest quality. First thing we're going to talk about, when you go to set up your camera, you have your file size set at large, and now you want to change the white balance. White balance basically will take the image if it's a bright sunny day and you want it to look bright and sunny. It will keep the color of the image, the overall color of the image, neutral. And white balance often can be previewed on your camera. Most people, and by default, cameras are set for auto white balance. Wherever you can find white balance on your camera, some cameras have a little button that you push like this to change the white balance. Others have to go into the menu. Some of you may have to delve into your screen. You may have to actually push some sort of command in here, but it's always labeled WB. It's either an external button or something that's buried in your menu. You just have to figure that out for yourself, where it is. Here's an example of how auto white balance and white balance works. This is the auto preview, and you can see that the auto white balance gives you a pretty evenly colored image. As I scroll through, here's the daylight. You can see that the daylight setting isn't appropriate for indoors like this. It's too yellow. Shade is even more yellow. Look how yellow that is. Cloudy, a little bit less so. Tungsten, a little bit too green. Tungsten lights have a different color temperature. White fluorescent actually is the best because we have white fluorescent lights here in this room. It's not too cool, it's not too warm. The warm tones look warm, yet the cool tones look cool. So it seems true. And then flash does not look so good. So let's look at the difference between the auto feature. Everything's a little bit kind of grayed out, very subtle, but look at how nice white fluorescent light looks. Everything seems truly even, and in my opinion, looking at the room with the naked eye, looks very true to life. If you're unsure, take a picture with both. The next feature that you want to pay attention to is ISO. There's a way to access it on every point-and-shoot or digital SLR camera. You can't get to this on your iPhone. What it's used for is taking night pictures, nighttime pictures, low light pictures, or in some cases highlight pictures, and also for action photography. You're going to be using this for one of your assignments. How you change that on this camera is I hold down an ISO button and I can switch to auto, which is by default the same on every camera. And you can see that it just went to auto here. ISO is used for basically the speed of the film. It, in digital format, is sort of recreating what manual film is doing. When you used to buy film, you'd buy a high-speed film or a low-speed film. Now, digitally, you can recreate that. ISO is important for two reasons. When you're trying to shoot something that's moving really fast, which we'll do today, you'll need to up the ISO somewhere between 800 and 1600. Some cameras go up farther than 3200 ISO. However, the higher the number, the more grainy your picture is going to be. And you want to kind of strike a balance between a grainy or less grainy photo and a more still image. So if you're shooting traffic, picture of cars driving by, probably 800 ISO is perfect. If you're in a low light scenario, however, this is not going to be enough. It'll be a dark image, and you'll need to be at a very low ISO. So remember, in review, lower ISO will slow down your shooting, so you'll need to have it on a steady surface. We'll let in more light. However, the images will be more blurry because the image or the speed of the film is slower. If you want to take action photos, you're going to want to be at a higher ISO. The next important feature is your exposure compensation. I showed it to you earlier. It's the little plus and minus sign. And generally speaking, it's a button that's on the outside of your camera. If you push it down, you can see here, and I scroll my wheel to the right, the higher the number, you see it's a 1, then a +2. That's going to make it lighter. And in some cases, if you go down lower, you'll get a darker image. So let's imagine that I'm using a high ISO, 800, because I want to take a picture of something that's moving, but it's a lower light scenario. I don't have as much light. I can up the compensation, the exposure, a little bit, and that will brighten the image, and it will lighten the image. If you look here on this camera, I have the same button. It's a plus or minus. In most cases, it's going to be on the body, like I said, but in some cameras, it's located in your menu screen. So, say for instance, I'm shooting in an auto setting for ISO, but every time I take a picture, it's too bright, it's too light, everything's washed out and what we call overexposed. You might want to take a lower exposure compensation picture. So we go down a little bit and you take a picture, and then you move it up and take the same picture, and then move it up one more time. That's called bracketing. Basically, you're giving yourself 3 options for your picture. This screen here, no matter how good it is going to lie to you. When you take your images and put them on the computer, you're going to notice that that image that you thought was really light and perfectly exposed might be overexposed or underexposed. So it's good to bracket. It's good to take more pictures than you need to. The reason you have a memory card and a digital camera is to take lots of pictures. Be wasteful. You can always use this little garbage can here to get rid of pictures that aren't any good. I want you to take more pictures than you need because you're going to want to get the best results, and sometimes it's better to have more and find that one picture that works rather than having to go back out and take more pictures.